Hello and welcome to another HanDrinksSolo wine info video. And today we are talking about the PoundingGrape Fairies in the Garden Weird White Blend. It doesn't actually say Weird White Blend on the label. I added that in for drama, but as we begin to talk about it, you'll see why. PoundingGrape is the multi-faceted project founded by a very busy man called Chris Groenewald. Now, Chris Groenewald is the current South African champion for the blind tasters competition, and he in fact led the team to France where they competed in the World Wine Blind Tasting Championships last year. He also is the importer of some incredible French wines, but most important for today's discussion is that he is a winemaker. He also is a fascinating wine brain that is worth following. And if you're wondering to yourself just how fascinating a wine brain can be, just a look at the color in this glass will tell you that there is something to be studied. Now, the color I would describe is what the French call un peu comme une tache en verre. And I guess if you weren't paying attention, you'd be forgiven for thinking that someone topped your empty red wine glass up with white wine without rinsing. Now, in case you needed any more evidence that this is not a simple poolside quaffer, we can just give it a sniff to see what unfurls. I mean, it starts with obvious peaches and apricots, but then there's these amazing, more intense, moody, savory kind of stewed peaches, a little bit of biltong shavings, definitely some almost like a fruity herbal tea element going on. There's a lot going on the nose of this wine, and in the next section, I'll tell you why. But first, let's give it a sip. Again, on the palate, plenty of that stone fruit, but rather than just being a kind of liquid that tastes like stone fruit, one almost gets the impression that you're chewing on the fruit. There's a definite pithy, tannic texture to it. And then the other elements that we taste is that kind of ripe oranges, but again, with a pithy bitterness, almost like when you used to eat those orange quarters straight out of the skin at rugby matches half-time. And lastly, probably most interestingly for me, is a lovely salty element, which we smelt on the nose, but it comes through beautifully on the palate, which kind of just adds a little more tension to the sweeter peach fruit, the acidity from the citrus, and then the salty seam through it all. And having tasted all this, you might rightly ask,
What the hell was that?
this wine is a three-part blend of Gewurz, Pinot Gris, and Riesling. Now, the Gewurz and the Riesling are from Durbanville, a region that is developing its reputation for highly aromatic whites. And guess what? Both Riesling and Gewurz are highly aromatic whites. The Pinot Gris is from the heart of Stellenbosch, farmed on Klein Valmout Farm, which, if you've been paying attention to some other videos, you would know is owned by Winshaw Wines, which is pretty much Pinot Gris central in South Africa. We've in fact previously featured their full-on skin contact Pinot Gris, which is called the Luck of the Gambler. And the component of this wine also spends 5 days on skins, whereas the Riesling and the Gewurz are fermented a little more traditionally in that they are pressed off immediately into their vats and don't spend any time on the skins. So the Pinot Gris skin contact is what gives it that really interesting color, and the huge aromatic elements from Riesling and Gewurz is what gives us this wild nose that just jumps out the glass at you. But how are they all put together? Well, winemaker Chris Groenewald decided to take the components and ferment them all separately. But as soon as fermentation was done, he blended them all together so that they would have as long as possible in order to meld and integrate and produce what he would consider a more seamless composition. Although it is worth noting that there are many winemakers around the country who may ferment components separately and then wait as long as possible before blending because they feel that this will give them more control over what the wine tastes like in the glass. So there definitely are arguments for both sides, and really it comes down to, I guess, your particular philosophical bent. Are you more interested in the magic, mystery, and alchemy that wine can provide? Or are you interested in control and making sure that you know exactly what the wine is going to taste like just before it goes into the bottle? If you have any more questions, feel free to drop them in the section below, or if you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to the HanDrinksSolo channel so that you can keep up to date with fascinating wines like this. And there are videos released every week where we talk about rising winemaking stars, unusual cultivars, and also some of the rising regions within the South African winelands.